Hello guys, today is day 11 of the 625 MCQ series. So all the previous 10 episodes have been getting excellent response. That is why we are continuing this, and the same is expected for other playlists as well, because a lot of playlists have been included now just for the sake of prelims, which is going to happen on October 10th. Okay, so polity series is there, environment series is there, geography NCRT is there, Nitin Singhania is there. Okay, and the other lectures like post independence, ethics, and society, we have reduced the frequency as of now, and after the prelims, it will be increased again. Okay, so please focus on what is made for you for the prelims sake, because this is also their ancient history. All these things will be definitely helping you solve extra 5 6 questions which others will not be able to do. Okay, so your score will go up and you will easily clear the cutoff. So please watch every episode and give your feedback, and also check your score whether you are trying to get in which range. Okay, like 15 to 20 is a good range. Okay, so if you reach that level, that means your preparation is going fine and UPSC exam will be very easy for you on the prelims day. Now, which of the following keywords are mentioned in the original preamble? So unity, integrity, dignity, opportunity. So 1 4 2 3 1 3 4. So this kind of questions you have to read the question properly. They are not asking which is mentioned in the preamble. It is asking the original preamble. So for that you have to know what is the original preamble and what is the amended one. It has been amended only once in 42nd amendment in 1976. So the words socialist, secular, and integrity was added. So you can see here clearly opportunity is there both sides, dignity is there both sides, unity is there both sides, but integrity was added later. Okay, so that is why this is a very simple question, but if you did not read properly, you will go and mark it as 1 2 3 4 and it will become a mistake. Okay, now Indian preamble was largely based on which one? Nehru report by Motilal Nehru, which in around 1928 it was there. Then objective resolution by Jawaharlal Nehru, then preamble of USA, preamble of South Africa. So all these has been referred, maybe you can tell, but the main thing, okay, largely based on objective resolution by Jawaharlal Nehru. So this, just study like this, you don't have to detailedly study and all that. In the history classes and spectrum and all, we have already done. So this, if you want the extra facts, the American Constitution was the first to begin with the preamble. The preamble refers to the introduction or preface to the Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution is based on the objective resolution drafted and moved by the Pandit Nehru and adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26 November 1949. Then here, whatever I told, okay, you can pause and read this, because more you read, more facts you will see, and UPSC can pick up anything. Okay, this is the objective resolution points. From this only, preamble has been formed. If you see equality, justice, freedom, thought of expression, belief, faith, all this in your preamble also you will see. Not everything, but most of them. Okay. Which popular case mentioned about the preamble that it is also not the source to prohibit the power which is given explicitly in the Constitution? So about the preamble, somebody told like this. Okay, in which case? Bommai case, Berubari case, Minerva Mills case, Keshavanand Bharati case. These years are also important. Study this so that in chronology, if they ask you to set it up, you should do it. Okay. So Berubari case, the Supreme Court said that the preamble shows the general purposes behind the several provisions in the Constitution and is thus a key to the mind of makers of the Constitution. Further, where the terms used in any article are ambiguous or capable of more than one meaning, some assistance at interpretation may be taken from the objectives enshrined in the preamble. Despite this recognition of the significance of the preamble, the Supreme Court held that preamble is not part of a constitution. That was what Berubari case told, and later in Keshavanand Bharati case, it will be reversed. They will tell it is a part. Okay, later. It is also not the source to prohibit the power which is given explicitly in the Constitution. Further, the preamble is not enforceable in a court of law. Okay, that is even now like that only, not enforceable. But this is a part of a constitution, not part of a constitution, that you should know when it came and when it was reversed. Why was the Indian preamble inserted only at the end? As that is the standard procedure followed by nations like USA and South Africa to ensure there is no inconsistency with the provisions of the Constitution. Ambedkar suggested that the preamble only at the end, as he felt ST rights should be highlighted. The need was realized only after drafting the entire constitution. So this kind of questions is like UPSC's favorite, where they'll ask a preamble or a fundamental right or a DPSP and give you ABCD statement, not 1 2 3 type, ABCD. You have to choose the best one or the correct one. So here the answer will be to ensure that there is no inconsistency with other provisions of the constitution. Okay. So Keshavanand Bharati case 1973. If you see, the Supreme Court rejected the earlier opinion, that is in Berubari case, and held that preamble is a part of the Constitution. It observed that the preamble is of extreme importance and the Constitution should be read and interpreted in the light of grand and noble vision expressed in the preamble. Explanation provided by the Supreme Court. The preamble may not be an essential part of ordinary statute, but it is an essential part of the constitutional law. Okay. Supreme Court admitted that a few facts regarding the preamble were not noticed in the Berubari case. These facts established preamble as a part of the Constitution. It has been adopted by the Constitutional Assembly in the same manner as other parts. The motion of by which the preamble was adopted said, the question is that preamble stands part of the constitution. The preamble was enacted after rest of the constitution was already enacted. The preamble was inserted in the end to ensure that there is no inconsistency between the preamble and other portions of the constitution. This is what we asked in the question. This was unlike USA, where the preamble was enacted first. Okay. Again, Bommai case details are here, in which they held that preamble is an integral part of the constitution, meaning they reiterated whatever was told in the Kesavananda Bharati case. Which of the following are false about Global Gender Gap Index? It is released by UNESCO, that is wrong. India has improved its rank slightly, that is also wrong. Okay. So false they are asking, so answer is both 1 and 2. So India slipped its rank from 108 to 112, and this report is by World Economic Forum. Okay. And if you see highest possible score is 1, that means perfect equality kind of thing, and the lowest is 0. And here if you see Iceland was the one, like 11 years in a row, it is like rank 1. Then these are all poor countries like Yemen, Iraq, Pakistan. Then the 4 dimensions on which this report is prepared, the trick is HEAP, HEEP, health and survival, education, economic participation and opportunity, and political empowerment. Then India's performance, India has improved in certain things like in political, but slipped in health and survival. Then again to 49th term in economic participation, 112. So that much detailing won't be required, but this terminology you should know, and overall India has slipped. Okay, 2021 report, latest one also go and verify. This is prepared last year as I told. So this is 2020 based content. Okay. So this is the ranking if you see. Iceland is number 1 and India is 112. Who is referred to as mother of modern girls education in India? So here, you know, modern education, already UPSC have asked several times this question. So it is Savitribai Phule. So impressed by her thirst for learning, Savitribai's husband Jyoti Rao taught her to read and write. Then becoming fond of teaching, she was trained at some institute here, and then became the first female teacher who inspired youth girls to girls of her time to pursue education. Okay, so there, you know, right of woman and all was not even existing that time, but she and her husband together started the first women's school at Pune. And in 1848, women's school had only 8 girls belonging to different caste. And then again, if you see, these are that kind of details only, story. But overall, you should know she is the one who, with her husband, started this thing. Okay, to prevent children from dropping out of school, they even offered stipends. Okay, so this kind of fact UPSC can ask if needed. Okay, and this is not simply alphabetic learning, but rather an evolution of the mind itself. So see this, pause this, and read one time. That is enough. One time reading is enough. Standard model in particle physics includes which one? Gravitational force, standard nuclear force, weak nuclear force, electromagnetic force. So this is again basics of physics. It will be there in your textbooks and all older textbooks. So UPSC will ask this kind of things only. So here the answer will be 2, 3, and 4, because gravitational force, even now scientists is not able to put it in the standard model. So that theory studies is going on. You should learn more about that. And various MCQs are there. My test series alone, if you do everything around each of these force, one question at least will be there. Okay. So here, if you see, it is the electromagnetic weak and strong forces, not including the gravitational forces. Okay. And remaining, see these terms and all. What is quark? What is boson? What are the examples of boson? That and all you should know. Okay. Because UPSC already asked about Higgs boson once. Okay. Again, pause and see whatever is written on the screen. Which of the following are true about Buland Darwaza, which UPSC asked already? Both white and black marble were used in its decoration. There are inscriptions related to both Jesus and Quran on it. It marks the victory of Akbar in the second battle of Panipat. So even if 1 and 2 you don't know, 3 you should know that it is wrong. Okay, so A will go away, and 1, 2 only. So here answer will be 1, 2 only, because black and white marble both were used. Okay, and red and buff sandstone is also there. The actual material is that, and it is decorated by this white and black. And then Quran verses are there in the Nas script. Then Jesus words are there. So these are all inscribed on that. Okay, it's the highest gateway in the world, and it's an example of Mughal architecture. And it's not Battle of Panipat. Okay, second Battle of Panipat was 1556 or something, when Akbar was very young. He just came into the throne. So this victory in Gujarat in 1573. Okay, after that only, that's again Akbar only, but later when he was even like not small kid or something, he was ruling. Okay, so here again Persian inscription is there on that. So this kind of very minute detailing we have tried to give, because Buland Darwaza, this exact thing, okay, like it is made of red sandstone. That question already came in UPSC very recently, 2 years, 3 years back it came. So they can again ask something complicated like this. Okay, so please pause and read all this. Full detail is there, taken from the art and culture websites only. So here again, how many pillars, how many this thing, how many dome, everything, central arch, everything is there for that. So it's a overall good architectural thing. So almost every good thing will be there in that. Okay. Which of the following are matched correctly? The orbits and the satellites. Okay. For this, I'm planning a video series also about science and tech. We don't have a playlist as of now, but we will soon commit live on YouTube. So here, high Earth orbit, communication satellite; medium Earth orbit, navigation satellite; low Earth orbit, scientific satellite. So here, if you see, all the three are true. So high Earth orbit, many kind of weather and some communication satellites tend to have a high Earth orbit farthest away from the surface. Okay, height is like 40,000 kilometer and above. And if you see center of the earth, okay, from the center of the earth, that is about 36,000 kilometer, that is where you have the geostationary orbit and all. Okay, so that is where you place the communication satellite also. All this have an orbital period equal to earth's rotational period, that is 24 hours. Satellites in this orbit are useful to study our planet's magnetosphere and for other astronomical observations. These satellites face less exposure to atmospheric drag as compared to satellites in the lower Earth or middle Earth orbits. Communication delays and high cost of manufacturing and launching a satellite into this orbit are some of the areas of concern. So this is high Earth orbit where communication satellites and weather satellites are there. Now medium Earth orbit include navigation satellite designed to monitor a particular region, also called intermediate circular orbit. Orbital period ranging from 2 to 24 hours. Okay, this orbital orbit also puts satellite in proximity to the Van Allen radiation belt. These belts are regions of highly charged particles maintained by Earth's magnetic field. Okay, this Van Allen radiation belt is this one. The charged particles in the region can hurt the performance of satellites. Two medium Earth orbits are notable: the semi-synchronous orbit GPS satellite and the Molniya orbit Russian. So these two are the navigation satellites, and it is there in medium Earth orbit. Okay, and here it is there in the Van Allen radiation belt also. So this kind of very factual one or two lines only you need to know. Low Earth orbit, most scientific satellites, including NASA's Earth Observing System fleet, and more than 800 satellites as currently there here. The most popular of this is the International Space Station, ISS, and the Iridium Network of Communication satellite. Satellite in the low Earth orbit have an orbital period of range of 90 to 120 minutes. Okay, like 1.5 hour to 2 hour only. The other one is 2 to 24, and this is 24. So in a 24-hour period, polar orbit satelliting will view most of the Earth twice, once in daylight and once in darkness. More facts: the height of the orbit or distance between the satellite and Earth's surface determines how quickly the satellite moves around the Earth. As satellites get closer to Earth, the pull of gravity gets stronger and the satellite moves more quickly. Higher a satellite's orbit, the slower it moves. Okay, so this again one line fact you have to study. So whatever is in screen, this is more than enough to answer any question which comes on these three orbits. Remaining examples you have to study when new satellites or launches are there. That time you have to know where exactly it was launched. But remaining theory, this is enough. And this is about again elliptical orbit and polar orbits and synchronous orbit. Elliptical orbit is particularly useful when service providers wish to relay their services over a particular region for a more extended period. From Kepler's second law, the elliptical orbit would mean that the satellite spends a longer time at the apogee, that is the farthest point from the Earth, in contrast to the perigee. So, for example, if some satellite owners have a large user group in Russia, they would make sure the apogee of the satellite's orbit is somewhere over the Russia, okay, because it will spend a longer time in the apogee. Just as the geosynchronous satellite have a sweet spot over the equator that lets them stay over one spot on Earth, the polar orbiting satellites have a sweet spot that allows them to stay in one time. Okay, so pole to pole is there, polar orbiting, and then the geosynchronous are equator, near to equator. Okay, near to means in the same line. So this orbit is a sun synchronous orbit, which means that whenever and wherever the satellite crosses the equator, the local solar time on the ground is always the same. For example, if a polar satellite is 10:30 in the morning, crosses the equator in Brazil, when the satellite comes around the Earth in its next overpass, about 99 minutes later, it crosses over the equator in Ecuador or Colombia at the about 10:30 local time. So this example, if you understand or not, that is fine. But sun synchronous orbit, polar orbit is like same. Okay, it's the one type of that. Polar orbit is a type of sun synchronous orbit. So here, if you see in pictures, again it's shown low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, which is like around 40,000 kilometer. Geostationary will be around 36,000 kilometer. Okay, so this time also I told like 2 hours, less than 2 to 24 and 24 hours. So this basic, okay, it's all taken from a science website only. So all these things is enough for you to solve UPSC questions which came already in the exam. Which are the following were the first to be established? So again, chronology, timeline sake, you have to know the timing. Actually, Muslim League came in around 1906 and Hindu Mahasabha I think 1915. This will be 1909 Punjab, and then RSS it came 1925. Okay, so all these things are in news all the time. So you have to know. Okay, the full story is given here. All India Muslim League. Okay, 1906, and they demanded. Okay, successfully led to the partition of India. Literally movement. literary movement. It Leaguer Muslim University, formed in Dhaka, now in Bangladesh. From there only it all started. Okay. After the death of Sayyid Ahmad Khan, about which UPSC already a question came. 1930, the idea of a separate nation state and influential philosopher Sir Muhammad Iqbal's vision, okay, uniting the four provinces of Northwest British India, further supported the rationale of two nation theory. So these are all the time when these things started in the 1930s, and same idea proposed by Sayyid Ahmad Khan. And here, if you see again, it like the party is not very popular now across India, but it's there in as minor parties in different states like in Kerala and all. Bangladesh Muslim League was revived in 1976. India, a separate identity is there. Union Muslim League was formed. Pakistan Muslim League was formed. So like that, this party grew and scattered here and there. Punjab Hindu Sabha in 1909. Arya Samaj leaders such as Lala Lajpat Rai, Lal Chand, the Shadi Lal established the Punjab Hindu Sabha, and Madan Mohan Malaviya presided over the Sabha's first session. Okay, so establishment, you should see Lala Lajpat Rai, and first president or first presiding, okay, Madan Mohan Malaviya. So again, sectarian organization and safeguard interest of entire Hindu community. So this keywords, okay, this 4 points, that's enough. You just pause and see. Hindu Sabha, this was founded by Madan Mohan Malaviya. So you should see here he presided, here he established, okay, in 1915. He also founded the Banaras Hindu University. He campaigned for Hindu political unity. Organization was originally called Sarva Desak Hindu Sabha, Hindu Assembly for the entire country. In 1921, it changed its present name, Akhila Bharatiya Hindu Mahasabha. Late 1920s, Mahasabha came under the influence of leaders like Balakrishna, then this Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Okay, so they were the later people. After 1915, it got set up. 1920s, these leaders came. And RSS, you know, even now it's there, 1925. So because Mahasabha suffered a setback, because the former member, Keshav Baliram Hedegar, he left and he started this one. Okay, a voluntary Hindu organization kind of thing, which is like the parent party of the present ruling party. Now, which of the following are correct? Hindu Mahasabha had joined hands with Muslim League to form governments. Later, members of Hindu Mahasabha opposed civil disobedience movement. Stick to your post was a slogan given out to oppose Quit India movement. So here all three are true. So late 1920s, as I told, Savarkar came. He became a more intense critic of the Congress and its policy of wooing Muslim support. It did not support the Gandhian Indian freedom movement against British rule in India. It officially abstained from participating in civil disobedience movement of 1930. It was made a political party later in 1933. 1939, the Congress ministry is resigned in protest against Viceroy Lord Lithgow action of declaring India to be a belligerent in the Second World War without consulting the Indians. So because of that reason, many resigned. Hindu Mahasabha joined hands with Muslim League and other parties to form government in certain provinces. Such coalition governments were formed in Sindh, Northwestern Frontier Province, Bengal. Hindu Mahasabha openly opposed the call for Quit India movement. So they were against Gandhian thing and also the Quit India movement and boycotted it. The slogan was stick to your post. Which of the following are true about production of algal biofuels and its impact? It could result in negative environmental effect. It can help decrease greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. So you should see these words could and can. Okay, could means it's not like in surety they're telling it could or it may. Okay, so that is true. It may cause a negative environmental effect and it can. Okay, it can help definitely decrease greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. So here if you see the explanation, not very important, whatever is there in the question is self-explanatory. So you should see here like the use of algae, cyanobacteria, all these things are there. Okay, and different types of biofuels are there, type 1, type 2, type 3 and all. So you should see in which type algal is coming. Okay, which body acted as secretariat for National Program for Organic Production, NPOP? This was also asked by UPSC in 2018. So here answer will be APEDA. It grants organic farming certification through a process of third-party certification. It involves accreditation program for certification bodies, standards for organic production, promotion of organic farming, etc. It is implemented by Agriculture and Processed Food Exports Products Export Development Authority, which is under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The standards for production and accreditation system have been recognized by the European Commission, Switzerland and USA as equivalent to their respective accreditation systems. So here if you see the structure of that, Department of Commerce it is, under that technical committees are there, steering committees are there, accreditation bodies there, and here APEDA is the secretariat, certification bodies are there, all these things, and evaluation committees are also there. Okay, the farmers operator, the processing unit, the handler, the exporter, all these are certification bodies. Okay, below them. So if you see, this is a general structure, and from this only UPSC picked and asked the secretariat. Okay, because remaining is not worth asking, so they cleverly picked and asked this one. Which are the following are true about participatory guarantee system for India, PGS. It is implemented by Ministry of Commerce. That is wrong. It is a scheme for both individual farmers and group of farmers. That is also wrong. So neither one nor two is true. So it is a process of certifying organic products. It is in the form of documented logo or a statement. It is implemented by Ministry of Agriculture. The organic farmers have full control over the certification process. PGS certification is only for farmers or communities that can organize and perform as a group, okay, like a larger group. Individual farmers or group of farmers with smaller than 5 members are not covered under PGS. It is applicable on-farm activities comprising of crop production, processing, and livestock rearing. Off-farm processing activities such as storage, transport, and value addition activities by persons, agencies other than PGS farmers away from the group are not covered. Again, the same thing, away from the group are not covered. Okay. Organic foods are also required to comply with the requirements of labeling of FSSAI in addition to that of NPOP or PGS India. Okay, so organic foods have to get all the complying. Okay, everything they have to comply. The FSSAI labeling, the NPOP guidelines, the PGS India certification, everything. Which are the following terms related to warfare in Rigvedic times are matched correctly? Okay, so this again may be difficult. Maybe you have not seen this. All of them are true. Just by heart it. Okay, so if you see here, Rigvedic charioteers used varma, that is coats of mail, and sipra or sironastra helmets. Okay, so this coats of mail is already asked in UPSC in 2019 or 17. I don't remember correctly, but coats of Rigveda people use coats of mail was asked. Okay, and it's called varma, and here sipra is helmet. Okay, sironastra, and equipped with asi, that is swords, hanas, which is arrows, and ilehanas, which is bows. The kshatriyas on the chariots went to combat. Okay, with all these things. Rigveda mentions horse-drawn chariots with spoked wheels. So they have horses. They were using horses, but Indus Valley civilization were not aware of the horses. Okay, that is what is the answer key to UPSC, because UPSC once formed that question, and many people told like Indus Valley civilization know about horse, but the answer key came like they don't know about the horse. Okay, so this is a thing you have to by heart. These three keywords. Which one of the following best describes ecosystem? This is directly a UPSC question. Same options. A community of organization interacting with one another, the part of the earth which is inhabited by living organism, a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live, the flora and fauna of a geographical area. So here the answer is the community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. Okay, it's a UPSC question, direct question. With reference to an organization known as BirdLife International, which of the following statements are correct? It's a global partnership of conservation organization. That is true. The concept of biodiversity hotspot originated from this organization. That is wrong. It identifies the sites known or referred to as important bird and biodiversity area. The third is true. So 1 and 3 is correct. Answer will be C. So biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographic region which with the significant levels of biodiversity that is threatened by human habitation. So Norman Myers, he wrote about the concept in two articles, The Environmentalist in 1988. To qualify as a biodiversity hotspot on his edition of Hotspot Map, a region must meet two criteria. It contains at least 0.5 percentage or 1,500 species of vascular plants as endemics, and it has to have lost at least 75% of its primary vegetation. Okay, so this also, if UPSC want to trouble you, they can ask you all these details. So study like this much vascular plants as endemic, and this much 75% primary vegetation would have been lost. Okay, and around the world, 36 areas are qualifying under this definition. These sites support nearly 60% of the world's plant, animal, and all these things. Okay, some of the hotspots support up to 15,000 endemic plant species, and some have lost up to 95% of their natural habitat. And BirdLife International full details are here. It's a global partnership of a NGO that strives to conserve birds and their habitats, and they have identified this many endemic bird areas. Okay, where 11,000 important birds are there. And again, 1922 it was formed. It's a very old organization, so the people related to it, its aim, its membership, its funding, all that kind of very minute details are given here, which may not be important, but you should know. Okay, they have a magazine, which is the BirdLife magazine, which contains recent news and articles about birds and their conservation. Which of the following are false about Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund? It's a joint initiative of World Bank and Indian State of Telangana. That is wrong. It recently completed 5 years of establishment. That also should be wrong, because it is an older body. Okay, older fund. So if you see, an investment was made in 2019 to 24, 5 years gap. Okay, so here if you see, it was developed by Conservation Internationals founding CEO and former president of World Bank. The fund was founded in 2000 and began awarding grants in 2001. Okay, so a fund is there and they give grants for different purposes. So one investment was made. That is why it was in news last year. So Joint Biodiversity Conservation Initiative of this body. Okay, and then international union. Many bodies are there. Okay, GEF, Government of Japan, World Bank. All these things have together done it, and it also receives funding from several donors, including these things and all. It's not important. Okay, many funders, investors will be there for everybody. But question asked like it is specific to some World Bank or something, that is wrong. So the fund's headquarters are hosted at this particular body in USA, and it works to protect ecosystem and the species within them by awarding grants to local and international civil society organization working in biodiversity hotspot around the world. Grant recipient include non-profit organization, indigenous people group, small businesses, among others. So these many, okay, these again numbers like how many people got the funding, but you should know it is not a World Bank specific one. It is like many bodies are there, many investors are there, and since 2000 it is there. Global 200 is related to, okay, this is a WWF thing. It's a World Wildlife Fund and ecoregions. Okay, so it's a list of ecoregions identified by WWF, the Global Conservation Organization, as priorities for conservation. According to them, ecoregion is defined as a relatively large unit of land or water containing a characteristic set of natural communities that share a large majority of their species dynamics and environmental conditions. So, for example, based on their levels of endemism, Madagascar gets multiple listings, Ancient Lake Baikal gets one, and North American Great Lakes get none. Okay, so it's their endemic levels and all which decides it. So this Global 200 is the list of that. Okay, so WWF assigns a conservation status to each ecoregion in the Global 200: critical or endangered, vulnerable, and relatively stable or intact. Over half of the ecoregions in the Global 200 are rated endangered. Okay. Now, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is constituted under which act? Okay, Food Act or GI Act or Wildlife Protection Act or Environment Act. So here it is Environment Act. So this kind of questions also don't think like UPSC won't ask. UPSC have already asked. Okay, last time they asked like a Central Pollution Control Board was under which act? So the answer was Water Act. Okay, the answer options will be like Air Act, Water Act, Wind Act, Solar Act. Like they'll give act, and so that Pollution Control Board was under Water Act. Okay, 1973 or something. Okay, so here it is Environmental Protection Act 1986. So you know this one. It's a statutory body constituted under the rules for manufacture, use, import, export, and storage of hazardous microorganism. Okay, which is notified under this act. It is formed as this one and was renamed at its current name. Okay, first it was Genetic Engineering Approval Committee. Now it is Appraisal Committee. It functions under Ministry of Environment. Approval of this is mandatory before genetically modified organisms and products derived from them can be used commercially. Like you know the BT cotton, BT brinjal, all these things, it can be used commercially only if GEAC approves it. Okay, it regulates the use, manufacture, storage, import, export of all these things, and it is a apex biotech regulatory body in India, chaired by Special Secretary, Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So don't think like it is some union minister. It is the Special Secretary of that ministry who is the chairman of this committee. Okay, representative from biotechnology is the co-chair. So again, many members are there. 2 months they will meet, and all these expert members from all the institutions will be there, responsible for all the appraisal activity. Okay, assesses proposals, like new proposal will come, all that they'll assess and then only approve. Okay, and they have the power to take punitive actions against people or body under the Environment Protection Act. Okay, they have that power. Servants of India Society was established by. Okay, so there are two bodies. One is Servants of India Society and one is Servants for People Society, which I will show you the next question. So Servants of India Society is by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Okay, so you just look like he is a senior member. So I'm telling a trick to by heart. He is the senior member, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So he is like Servants of India. Okay, the full thing. Servants of People is by another person. Okay, which will come in the next question. So Servants of India was formed in Pune, Maharashtra in 1905 by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, who left the Deccan Education Society to form this association. Okay, so Deccan Education Society was there. He left it and started this one. Okay, along with him, there are other people like this Natesh Appaji, Gopal Krishna, then Anant Patwardhan. Okay, this can be important because last few years UPSC is asking very like unpopular names, which is like not in the mainstream names. Their names fully are asked. 4 or 5 people name are asked like who started this or who started that. So please by heart it. The society organized many campaigns to promote education, sanitation, healthcare, untouchability, discrimination, all these things, okay, to fight against them. Publication of the Hitavada, the organ of the society in English from Nagpur, commenced in 1911. Okay, so this is also related to this body, okay, Hitavada. Prominent Indians were its members and leaders. Then base of this shrank after his death in 1915. And after the rise of Gandhi, president of Congress, who launched social reform campaigns on a mass scale through the nation, attracted Indians to his cause. So later, Gandhi came, and then he will also improve the situation of this body. Now this is about Servants of People Society, which I told. Okay, Lok Seva Mandal. So here it is a non-profit social service organization founded by Bipin Chandra Pal. It's wrong. It is I think Lala Lajpat Rai, and it was inaugurated by Gandhi. Okay, it is not Subhash Chandra Bose. So 1 and 2 is wrong. So 1 and 2 is wrong means answer will be 3, 4 only. And if you see, 4 personalities are given related to his body. Okay, first is who found it. It was founded by Lala Lajpat Rai. Who inaugurated it? It was by Mahatma Gandhi. Who was the first president? It is Purushottam Das Tandon. And who was a lifelong member? Lal Bahadur Shastri. Okay, so these 4 things we wanted to teach you. So that is why it is given. And if you see subsequent presidents, these were all presidents like Purushottam Das Tandon, Balwant Rai Mehta, Lal Bahadur Shastri. Okay, so he was a lifelong member also of this body. So it was set up in 1921. Okay, the other one was in 1905. This is 1921 in Lahore. Which of the following are true about Narayan Meghaji Lokhande? Okay, this was asked in UPSC again. He was considered father of trade union movement. He started the first Labour Association of India. He was a prominent colleague of Jyotirao Phule. All these are true. Okay, so full detail about him is given. Why it's given? Because UPSC already asked about this personality in an indirect way. So if direct way they are asking, all these factual things you have to know. Okay, he established this Mumbai Kamagar Association. Okay, so everything may not be like looking very interesting and all, but you have to study this because UPSC has asked about this person already. Which one of the following national park has a climate that varies from tropical to subtropical, temperate and arctic? This is also a UPSC direct question, and the answer for this is Namdapha, which is there in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, the other 3 in options, if you see, this is in Sikkim, this is in Uttarakhand, this is in West Bengal, and this is the answer, that is Arunachal Pradesh. So tropical, subtropical, temperate, arctic, all the climates are there. Which of the following are true about National Career Service? It is a part of New Education Policy 2020. This is wrong. It is being implemented under Ministry of Labour Employment. That is correct. Okay, so here answer will be 2 only. So it's a 5-year mission mode project launched by Prime Minister in 2015. It is implemented by the Director General of Employment, Ministry of Labour. Then it is a one-stop solution that provides a wide array of employment and career-related services to the citizen of India. It works towards bridging the gap between qualified job seekers and employers. Then candidates seeking training and career guidance, agency providing training. So all the ones who is looking for a job and who is seeking to employ people, that connection will happen through this. Okay. So it reaches out to people through different pillars, ITC based. These are all the technical things inside that. Okay, digital portals it has, and other providers and customer care. Every detailing will be there. Career centers and all, toll-free number. So everything is not important, but just pause and read it once. Okay, they do not charge any fees for registration on the portal. Okay, and its services. It's completely free. So that was the 25 questions for today. I'll come up with tomorrow's episode. So please watch all the episodes because you are going to gain a lot of knowledge and you will be solving extra 5 to 10 questions than your competitor. Okay. So thank you and have a nice day.